I mean, nobody's actually tuning into the show because it takes a second for people to tune in. Let me make sure. I always like clicking on my own LinkedIn to see if it's actually streaming to people. It is funny. I think I told you this the other day, but like I've been recognized out like a couple of times now from like, oh, like I've seen y'all's LinkedIn live stream. So I don't know how accurate the actual like stat tracking is on here because like the LinkedIn numbers don't flow through to restream that well, but like there's at least 2 people watching this on LinkedIn who live in the Bay Area who recognize me on Union Street. So,
well, and I sat down at that dinner in New York, and I sat down next to someone, and we were like, you know, doing the small talk exchange, and he was like, "You look so familiar," and he was like, "Oh my God, I've seen you on Jack's live stream."
So good. The annoying thing about this is we can't stream. All right, live stream is live. We can't stream on the slow LinkedIn at the same time as like we can only do one LinkedIn at a time. And until our slow LinkedIn surpasses Jack Green's personal LinkedIn and followers, it's just gonna like keep being mine. On Twitter, we can do all of them. On our YouTube channel, which I don't even know if we post YouTube videos, but like it's live on there. And then I guess it's live on my Substack. I think we're live on my Substack. Is it live? Yeah. Syndication. Okay, let's talk about Matthew McConaughey, our Lord and Savior and personal hero. What, you want to kick this off? You were like, McConaughey is sick.
He's like so swaggy and he has a great accent. The reason why he came up is because he's recently been on the podcast tour. I think he has a new book out, which he doesn't, if you actually listen to any of his podcasts, he doesn't talk about the book until like halfway through the podcast, which is obviously the right way to do it. But he's just great. I don't know. You read his first book, Green Lights, right?
Yeah. I mean, it was as an angsty 23, 24-year-old. I forgot when I read it. It was perfect. It's like, fuck, I want to go like do something with my life. Like, like,
well, and the way like you should honestly like his audiobook and him narrating is like the best version or the best way to consume it. But he's just like an unbelievable storyteller. Like he could take something so simple, like a really, really, really simple basic story, and his inflection and his delivery, he's an entertainer. Like he's just so good. And he also, I think, is just like, you know, deeply thoughtful, and I like him a lot.
Do you think he wrote the book? Like I
actually think he did.
I do too, or like at least was much more hands-on than like I'm sure he had like a very hands-on editor to help with the organization or whatever, probably. But like, I don't know, the whole underworld of like, and Tim Ferriss talked about this one time, or like he tweeted about this or something, because like he's obviously written several books and like he wrote them himself, but like how the misnomer of everybody says they wrote a book, but like for example, it's like a known thing that like Barack Obama, Michelle Obama, Donald Trump, like none of them wrote their books. Like they all have books. They didn't write them, but they're like, I don't know. Like we were talking about like how serious like plagiarism is as an offense in like academia and just like in most of the world. Like you can't plagiarize people's research papers. Like it's like, this is like, you just don't do that. But in the book world, it's kind of like, it's not plagiarism because it's like an agreed upon thing by both parties, but it's just like a general like,
it's a weird concept to like have ghostwriters.
And that's how like I've got a buddy who and like it's like his like it's on his like LinkedIn. He's a ghostwriter. He worked. Do you know Jim O'Shaughnessy, like Patrick O'Shaughnessy's dad? So like he has like a sort of a fund. Like he does a bunch of shit now. And but one of the things is he's opened a publishing house, and he hired this guy who's like basically running the publishing house for him, but also a super successful ghostwriter who's written several books. And like, he's just really, really good at like taking other people's stories and putting them into writing. I'm very pro ghostwriter of books. I just almost wish it was more of like an openly acknowledged thing that it's like Will Smith and Mark Manson wrote Will Smith's book, Will. And it was like an openly collaborative project. And it's cool. Like Will liked Mark Manson's tone, wanted him to be the guy who like pulled his story together. You're like a movie star, a TV star. Like I get you don't like writing a book sucks. I get you don't have time to do that. But it's kind of like, just like, I don't know. I almost wish it was more of like an openly collaborative thing, I guess. Cause it's just kind of like,
that's like the shittiest job ever. Like you do all of the work, you have none of the upside.
It's funny though. Like I have like Ryan Holiday is obviously like his own writer now, but I'm pretty sure he ghost wrote, like he's done a lot of like he's big on the like you just have to grind through shit to make money when you're young until like you're that dude and then you can be the face of, like he's definitely, I think he's ghost written a few books. And like I don't know, I've been offered several of the like ghost writing for people's like LinkedIn's or whatever, and I was like, I actually just love like fucking around on LinkedIn, and there's just like the number would have to be so big for me to just like be someone's like back pocket, like the, I don't know, like the scene from Ratatouille where the rat's in the guy's hat, like controlling him, like doing that for somebody's LinkedIn is just like, I don't know. But there's like, did I tell you that Billy McFarland had asked me to like ghostwrite his book? Have we talked about this? Like the Fire Festival guy? Oh my God.
Yeah.
So
I met him. We had a call.
He's funny. I actually love him. I wish he was like,
that's a hot
20% less scammy, like not 100% less, but like 20% less.
Yeah.
But he
bought the Fire Festival. Someone just bought it. For like
it was like it wasn't LimeWire, but it was like Napster, or it was like
I think it like maybe was LimeWire.
I think wait. Who?
And then someone was a Barstool, like someone lost in the bidding war, and it was like only
it was LimeWire. LimeWire bought Fire Festival for $245,000.
Like, and what a headline!
And Billy's going to use that money to help pay back some of the $26 million he owes people he defrauded in 2017. So, have you met him in person, or you just like have a Zoom call with him, or what?
We had a Zoom call.
So I went to like when I was still at Robinhood Sherwood News, I went to Austin, Texas for the Consensus like crypto conference in May 2024. And like RFK Jr. was the keynote speaker there. Like it was a whole thing. And they had this crypto karate tournament where like it was a bunch of like B-list celebrities that were like fight, but it was legit. Like it wasn't like karate, it was like MMA. Like people were knocking each other out. And Billy McFarland was like one of the headline fighters. I was like,
really?
Wait, what? And I said what's up to him after, and he was like, yeah, dude. Like he got paid like a decent amount of money from some crypto guys. He fought this guy who was like 50 pounds heavier than him and like knocked him out. So he actually wasn't bad, but it was just like, why is he here? 6 months before that, I'd gotten a DM on Twitter from him, and it was like, hey dude, want to write a book? And I was like, maybe, like I don't know. And he's like, let's chat. So we get on a Zoom call, and he was walking me through the like obviously he's no longer doing Fire Festival. He was going to launch Fire Festival 2 and blah, blah, blah. So he's like, yeah, I'm going to do that. But he's like, I want to go big with it. He's like, I want to write a book telling the real story of Fire Festival. And like, we're actually also looking at building out a Broadway play about Fire Festival.
Yeah.
And all this stuff. I was just like, this is nuts. And he's like, want to write a book. I like your voice. He's like, but like, you would have to come on like, this would be the thing you do full time for the next year. He's like, I think we can get it out like this fast. I think I can get like a 7-figure advance on it. We could split it. Your name couldn't be on it though. And I'm just like, I just don't know how I'm going to, one, you owe people a lot of money. And I'm like a little bit worried I wouldn't actually get paid on this. And then two, like, that's a weird resume gap to have. You graduate from business school and it's like, what'd you do for a year? And you can't tell people on paper that you're writing Billy McFarland's memoir. But he did send me like writing samples of like what he'd written so far, and I actually loved it. Like the telltale of like him and Ja Rule and like a plane, like hot box. It was so funny.
I mean, I have friends like, because this was in like the sorry, I'm just getting like very weird WhatsApp messages. I have friends. This was like back in like the 2016 New York City days, and friends who literally went to like his parties in the Hamptons, and they were like, yeah, we were just like partying with Ja Rule.
That's so good. Did you know anybody? You know,
thesis, the card company.
Really?
Yeah.
Like and for how long were they there?
I remember. Well, he was kind of doing it on the side, but we were both. He's a friend from growing up, but then we also happened to be in the same group in banking. And I remember we were taking Metro North out to Connecticut to some like MD's like summer party or whatever. And he like whips out his credit card and he like drops it on the ground of the Metro North. And it was like, you know, the metal thing. He's like, this is sick. And I was like, what is this?
Was it a real card? Like, was it actually real, or was it because it was kind of like an
No,
exclusive
it
membership
was just
thing,
like
right?
wrapped, right? It wasn't like an actual like card process. It was just like a, white labeled or like co-branded whatever, but it was, it was a card that he could like use at bars.
Yeah.
And it was like, it wasn't a crazy idea of got you access. It was like very pre its time, where now there's all these like member clubs in New York City. It was like kind of trying to do that, but denominated in like this like card membership.
Again, if Billy McFarland was 20% less scammy and was willing to get rich like 2 years slower than what he wanted to, he could probably be worth like 50 million and have never gone to prison. But like he just tried to put the money forward.
This is the classic thing. This is the classic thing of like Elizabeth Holmes, SBF, like all these people. It's like there's a total like plausible plot line where it broke the other way, where they just are like the next Steve Jobs. And it's just like they tipped a little too far in one direction. You know what I mean? Like it's not unreasonable to think that there was like another parallel universe where they were like extremely successful and everyone was lauding them as like, brilliant and genius and, a progressive thing. It's just like these people are like, they're all kind of the same. It just,
like Billy could have like started the next Soho House or made the ramp for like consumer high-end spending.
Right.
I don't know.
Speaking of, do you think Elizabeth Holmes's Twitter is real?
I was talking to a couple of people about this the other day. No, to answer the question, I don't think that's actually her. I hope it is. And part of me is like, it could be because SBF is now back on Twitter too. He tweeted.
I know. I was so confused by that.
But to answer the question, no, I don't think it's actually her. Maybe it's her husband. It also wouldn't surprise me if they maybe they have a ghostwriter. I mean, I don't know. I don't think it's her tweeting like just stream of consciousness, but it is funny.
But who is SBF? But SBF can't be doing that from prison, right?
I think his actually is him, or he has somebody who's like putting his thoughts out. The reason why I don't think the Holmes one is Holmes is like, the content, like, it's funny because of who it is, but it's actually just really shitty Twitter, and she's very charismatic. It's just really bad Twitter game. And it's like, she's also too plugged in with like the memosphere people, where it's like, there's no way actual Elizabeth Holmes would be like this on, like, the content isn't that good, but she's also interacting with the people who are like kind of at the front edge of like who matters on Twitter and pops up in people's timelines. And I just don't think given that she's been in prison since like Twitter kind of became the zeitgeist, I just refuse to believe it's actually her.
When was the account created?
Let's find out. I've got to pull it up now. Well, it is her account because it's been around since 2013. Like, this is her account. When did it come back live? I'm like rapidly scrolling down. Like it looks like you train an AI bot on Elizabeth Holmes. Okay, so she has tweets from December 2015, back when people still used hashtags. And then when's the first modern tweet on the Holmes account? Yes. Hadn't tweeted in a decade, and then tweets, "The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice," with a picture of Martin Luther King Jr. and a quote from him. Like, no tweet in a decade, you just pull out like an MLK black and white picture and quote. And then a quote from Archbishop Desmond Tutu, and then quote tweeted Brian Johnson. Brian Johnson tweeted, "Defeating death will be humanity's greatest accomplishment." She tweeted, "Amen." And it's just like really stupid motivational quotes, like Muhammad Ali quote, random Latin phrase. I just like a Socrates quote. I don't know. Like, if it is her, it makes me feel like everybody who invested in her company was so stupid. If like this is the level of like charisma, like really this sold you? Come on. Like, I don't know.
Funny. That's okay, wait, we got to keep chugging through our topics because
fine. I can talk about Billy McFarland forever. But speaking of events that did actually happen, Creator CEO Summit. Yeah. Creator CEO Summit was so we actually hosted a conference in LA. Neither of us have gone to prison from it, and it was a lot of fun.
Not yet.
Not yet. That's right. Everybody has a non-zero chance of going to prison at some point.
Wait, were you were the one who was telling me the story of like someone going up to someone at a party at like a very fancy like corporate cocktail party being like, have you ever been arrested? Were you telling me the story?
No, but I've probably done that. But like, I don't think I was telling you the story. Did somebody tell you the story in LA?
No, I can't remember, but someone was telling me a story of like one of their friends or something. They were at some like fancy corporate cocktail party and would go up to all of the senior people. And instead of being like, what do you think about like interest rates? It's like, he would just like, here, I'm assuming this guy would go up to these people and be like, have you been arrested? And like the number of people that were like, yeah, let me tell you about it was like astounding.
I appreciate that you thought that I did. This is like very coded. This is the thing I would do. I don't think I've done that, but I'm definitely gonna do that. Have you ever been arrested? I got arrested one time.
My very sweet mom. This is like a very funny story. This has nothing to do with work, and now we're just like bullshitting. But my mom is like a saint. Like she doesn't drink. She's like a saint, and like the nicest person in the world. She like loves animals, whatever. She parked and was having lunch with my dad across the street at like some restaurant in a town. And our dogs were in the car, but the windows were open, but clearly not enough. They were like halfway open. And my mom is like obsessed with her. Like she would save our dogs before she like saves our lives. And the cops swarm their car. And my dad's like, oh, Jane, like you should go check out what's going on. And she's like, obviously my dad is like, whatever. He's like 3 wines deep, like doesn't care. And cops swarm a car and they basically were like, you're under arrest for like dog
animal endangerment.
Animal abuse. Yeah, exactly. And she like, it is just like the most ironic thing because she has like water and like the whole thing, but it was like kind of a misunderstanding. Anyway, she gets written up in the police blotter. She has to go to court and she had to serve like 100 hours of community service in this like animal shelter, and she ended up like loving it and continue like anyway.
It's so good.
But she's like the only of all of the people I know to like have been arrested. The fact that it was my mom is like such a classic story.
That's so good.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start this by saying I have never gotten a DUI. I've never drank and drove ever. I did have to go to DUI school though, despite not having a DUI. I know. The long story short was like I got an MIP when I was 19, like at like a college party, had a beer, cop like wrote me up, and then he tried to cut me a deal where he was like, if your BAC is below this, like I won't give, and I was just like, I'm just gonna have to pay the ticket. I feel like, and this is anyway. It was like a recurring thing that kept coming up for the next 3 years because it was in Milledgeville, Georgia, which is like an hour from where I went to school. So then I had to go back. I was terrified. Like I didn't want to tell my parents. I was like, oh my God, my life is over. And I had to go back for court. We had like a fraternity alumnus who had been an attorney. So like I called him up on the side and was like, will you please like come, like make sure I don't end up in prison? And he just thought the whole thing was funny. It was like, yeah. So I go in, it was fine. And it's kind of like, all right, like if you just go through whatever process, it gets like dropped from your record. It's like you go to like an education thing, whatever. Stuff happens all the time. But I was going back home for the summer and I was going to be 4 hours from Milledgeville. And they were like, all right, you have to come back. Like,
is it a place called Villageville?
Milledgeville with an M.
Milledgeville.
It's where Maggie was, she was there like taking her kid on like a college tour.
Oh, funny.
Like last week. But anyway, I was like, I can't drive from Tifton, Georgia to Milledgeville every Tuesday, Thursday for the next month and a half. That's like a 3.5 hour drive in both directions. And I was like, is there any way I can do the same like coursework in Tifton? And they were like, yes, if you can find like an equivalent like alcohol education course, sure. And I was like, okay. So the only thing we had in Tifton, Georgia, it's like a small town. We had DUI school. Like a lot of people get DUIs in Tifton. So I asked the judge, like I call him up and I was like, hey, can I like go to like, this is like an education. He's like, yeah, DUI school works. And I could do the whole thing in a weekend and then it was just done. So I'm like a 19
DUI school, like
how to not drink and drive. So like, but it was 20 hours of instruction between a Friday and a Sunday. So like I spent my whole weekend and I was with the like worst people on the planet. Like this guy with like tattoos on his knuckles that spell out like fear. And like, it's just insane. I'm just sitting there like just a like really naive, like 19-year-old kid who just has, and the instructor, I went to church with him. Like he's friends with my grandparents. So I'm sitting there and he's like, Jack, were you drinking and driving? And I was like, no. So I had to give the whole backstory. So then he thinks the whole thing's hysterical, but I'm in these like small group sessions with Tony, who he was the guy with the fear knuckle tattoo. Like he's probably killed people. Anyway, that was I've never had trouble with law since then. He's probably dead. Like I think he got another DUI. He wasn't allowed to get a driver's license anymore. I say all that to say, I think that, I don't know, Sam's new thing, which I actually kind of agree with, is like, you want to back founders who have a certain degree of like pedigree, prestige, like knew how to win, they had the right job at least once, went to the right school at least once, but like also got into trouble. And it's like, what line of like, does that mean they got arrested, or does that mean they got in like some minor trouble with an authority? But there's a level of like pushing back against the man, but also knowing how to like win the man, and you want both. And we had like a dinner last night with some founders, and it's like, what's the like efficient frontier of like,
what was it? Where'd you guys land on?
We didn't really have like a specific thing. It's just like, you probably don't want to go full Billy McFarland, but like SBF was like one notch away from perfect. So it's a work in progress. I don't know what the creator version of that is, but like there's probably like somebody.
There's kind of like a small, like, for example, we're talking to a creator. She's amazing. She is from Australia and moved to the United States. And Australia is like a very, have you heard of tall poppy syndrome?
Top poppy syndrome?
Tall poppy syndrome.
Mm-mm.
So in Australia, you know how like bucking the trend and like meritocracy and capitalism and like striving for the stars is like celebrated in America, and like entrepreneurship generally. In the States, in Australia, it's like, you don't want to be too like braggadocious and ambitious, because like you don't want to be the tall poppy. It's kind of like looked down upon culturally, versus like you just like blend in and like not disturb the peace and blah blah blah. And it's like, that is like the culture there, and it's called tall poppy syndrome. Anyway, so I give her a lot of credit, and she was like, she kind of looked around and was like, this is not what I want. Like, I'm gonna go like take a big swing, move to the States, knew no one, and she's a creator now, and she's crushing it, and she's starting a business and has a bunch of ideas, and she's like a freaking hustler. Like, every time I talk to her, she's like, yep, on it. Like, she's so fast, like she's so good. And I think that's like a example of an equivalent of like, you just take some sort of big risk that could massively blow up in your face.
Yep. She also raised a kangaroo from like a very small age. You know this?
I didn't know that.
No, this is like, I had a conversation with this creator when we were in LA. I was like, I'd have this joke about wanting to raise a kangaroo for a while. And it turns out I did the research on like, can you raise a kangaroo? Yeah. I like asking people if the stereotype about their country is actually real. And it always makes me feel so vindicated when like an Australian actually had a pet roo.
That's amazing.
But I was like, so you can't own a kangaroo in New York. You can own a kangaroo in New Jersey. And there's a ranch in Texas that raises kangaroos. So you could go buy a Joey in Texas. It's in like Heartland, Texas or something. And then if you live in Jersey City, you can just walk around with your like roo on a leash. They can jump like 20 feet. I mean, just imagine.
What about California? Can you raise them in San Francisco?
I don't think so, but I haven't looked. This was like before I moved out here.
Kangaroo for the office?
It would. The problem is they are just like, they're wild animals. They can kill you. They can jump 30 feet, which makes no sense. But like, I was telling her this whole like, I had this whole thing about like, I would like raise a kangaroo. And she was like, so you were like willing to move to New Jersey just to say that like you and your roommate had a pet kangaroo like for the bit? And I was like, yeah, like we actually planned this out. We just didn't want to live in Jersey City. And she was like, yeah, like I raised a kangaroo from like, there was like a dead mother kangaroo, and like it was like her and her family checked the pouch, and there was a little baby roo there. They like raised it, nursed it back to health, but it just got too big and was like breaking shit, so they like had to let it go.
Oh my god, I have to ask her about this. Mm-hmm. My nickname is Roo. For my home friends call me Roo.
Why?
As you're like Roo, I'm like, I can't. It was kind of an inside joke that started a very long time ago, but yeah, that's my.
Could you jump really high as a kid? Like, what's
nothing to do with my vertical. Anyway, the creator CEO summit was great.
As you can
It was
tell.
like, it was basically like it was born out of this idea of like VidCon, like a lot of like the existing creator events are still very much anchored and centered on like kind of creator 1.0 of CPMs and thumbnails and brand deals. And we're like, okay, we've like evolved since then. And like creators are now stepping into these like massively entrepreneurial roles. And so we had Sarah Hardin from Hello Sunshine. We had Doug DeMuro. We did a panel on like creator financing, which we tried to make as fun as possible. Obviously Jonathan Katz-Moses like stole the show at the end. He's just like such a good vibe. So it was fun. It was like a day of, like hour-long panels that were like pretty educational but fun and conversational. And I think like the overwhelming response was that it was like refreshing, and somewhat of like a new format, new topic. We tried to be like pretty specific with the attendees, and obviously the Lighthouse is amazing. So it was great.
Was there anybody where you were like, oh, this person's like super, like any like unexpected meetings with anybody like before/after?
That's a really good question. I would need to think about it. I feel like I talked to so many people. I don't know. What about you?
Hanging out with our favorite painter in person was good.
Yeah. He's great.
Yeah.
He's great.
Also glad to see Tyler Dink and I are still friends. That was very important. Yeah.
Tyler. So it was great. And it was like, one day, and I think the thing now we're trying to just figure out, which we'll talk about later today in our marketing meeting, is like, how do you basically run that format in a super like scalable way? Maybe it's like half days, maybe it's you do it every quarter, but with one kind of annual kind of keystone event. So I don't know, we'll figure it out, but it was really fun. And I think people got a lot of value out of it.
I have thoughts on the replication process for this, but that's to discuss in an hour. Great. Okay. AGM, well, I guess not AGM talk, but pitching creator fund to LPs. Like, I don't know. Everybody kind of knows how like venture funds work. We have a seed fund. We invest in startups. You give us money. We hope to find the next like Apple. But saying, all right, we invest in creators and hope to find the next Martha Stewart. How did you even go about, like, for context for however many people are listening, like the fund we invest in creators with is like separate from Slow's main fund. Like we have a separate pile of money that goes into YouTubers. Like oversimplifying a lot.
Like part of it was like there was kind of there was our talk track of like kind of setting the stage of like, only do this, like don't do this as like a favor of Slow or a favor of Sam or Kevin or whatever. Like do this because you're genuinely interested in this thematically and as like an asset class. So we kind of weeded out people that were not that. And I think, they came to the conclusion of either like, it's an uncorrelated asset. It's, provides a different return profile. They really believe in like the creator thesis or whatever, right? Like everyone had their own kind of reason. And then the other thing is like, I don't know that we could have raised this fund as successfully as we did, like at any other time. Because I think obviously you needed the benefit of examples kind of out in the wild and people's kids dragging them to Walmart and like people kind of understanding the theme. But then too, like venture is in a weird place, right? And so it's like the number of times we heard like people were really interested in this because it just didn't look or smell or feel like any of the other pitches that LPs were clearly getting from other seed funds. And, we love to tell the story, but like MIT, we were kind of like, do you want to look at this Slow? They were super into creator and we're like, do you want to look at Slow, our new Slow fund? And they're like, yeah, like we're good. Like we have so much exposure to kind of what Slow is doing and what your competitors are doing. Like we don't need more exposure to this. So like, I think LPs are like, this is actually different from both category perspective and like domain perspective. And then also like a return profile. And I think that obviously it's a double-edged sword because I think some people love that. And some people are like, ooh, we don't even know where to like fit this, right? Is it more like venture debt? Is it more like equity? So anyway, wait, Jack, can you hold on for 1 second?
No.
My cleaning is here.
Nice. Mine is not.
Anyway, so that was, and now like with our AGM in, I guess, 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. You know, I was starting on some of the slides last night, and it's like, you know, key learnings or takeaways from like, you know, our first 8 months or whatever doing venture capital. And it's just a different set of considerations and a different set of reflections, I think, than certainly what the seed fund will have. And then, you know, any other kind of new fund. So
cool. Okay, we have 3 minutes left. We actually kind of cooked today. Got a solid with 30 minutes in. Shout out Billy McFarland. Does your cleaner want to like come on, say what's up? No? Okay. All right, last topic. So as a creator, as a creator investor, some people might not know, you're also a budding creator yourself. What sucks about writing like a weekly newsletter? Like actually, how much like, on the scale of like all the stuff you do like week to week, where does this rank on like most difficult thing?
Sorry, what?
No, you're good. I said in the realm of like all the typical like sourcing, diligence, legal, like all the other fundraising, all of the random stuff. Where does like writing a newsletter fit on like the level of difficulty of like things you do?
So I did it for like a year, and I wrote weekly, and then I took a break because I was really burnt out. And now I'm kind of back into it. And you just like, it's a muscle you have to work. I mean, you know this. And it's like you kind of go through your week with the lens of like, oh, if I have a passing thought, could that actually turn into a newsletter? Or like, is this interesting enough to write about and expand on?
Yeah.
Or like you see something, you're like, oh yeah, that sparks an interesting conversation. But when you're writing about a pretty narrow topic every week, it's like, it's hard. Like there's only so much you can say. And so, I mean, this week, like, for example, I wrote about kind of like what brand means this week. And it's a topic that I've been thinking about for a while. And there was, you know, I had like different drafts of it probably for a couple weeks. And then I saw a couple things where like the Anthropic dropped their video, and I was like, oh, like the pieces have kind of come together where like I have enough inspiration to actually write a full kind of newsletter. But it like, I mean, you know this better than anyone. Like it's idea generation is hard.
I do think on the creator stuff specifically, like if there's just like interest, like just like almost having like a opinion column type of thing on like interesting storyline or thread line you see, it's much easier to like have a perspective on stuff happening than having like a pure independent thought on like novel thesis every week. Because there's always ways to like put your perspective on what other people are doing. And that was kind of my way that you always come up with stuff.
Yeah. I mean, like last week, for example, like that actually what is kind of like, you know, as you think about like the creator capital markets, like that was an independent thought and framework that I kind of came up with.
Yeah.
Of like, okay, how do you think about it on like, you know, like a basic 2x2? But beyond that, you kind of have to like insert your opinion to.
Original thoughts are very important in the creator space. We had, they are. We had one question. Kevin Baker, friend of the family. What are creators mainly using capital for? Is there like a one thing that kind of pattern matches? Because like, or is it? Because it's kind of depends on the creator too.
No, it's like actually pretty consistent, and like in 3 big buckets. One is, and people like, you know, the details are different, right? But the general theme is the same, which is first bucket is like content and production and media, right? So like they want to launch a podcast, or they want to actually like hire an editor, like just really dialing in content kind of as a sales and marketing engine. And then 2 would be on whatever business idea or ideas they're working on. So maybe it's like hiring a COO or like making a very strategic hire or set of hires for the business. Or even like pulling forward an inventory order or greenlighting products. And then the third is kind of this like miscellaneous bucket, because as you know, we kind of invest into the broader holding company, and these creators are so generative. They have so many different ideas and they can't do them all at once. Right. And so there's kind of this like more like experimental, like rainy day bucket where, you know, maybe they'll use the funds in 8 months or 12 months or 18 months. And, you know, it's to kind of make progress to some of those kind of broader experiments.
Cool.
So,
all right. I have to jump for a call.
Anyway.
I guess you need to hang out with your cleaner, But sick.
Yes.
All right.